Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ángela Abreu, and I am the founder of the Dominican Writers Association. Tonight, we have the immense pleasure of having this incredible lineup of Dominican poets and contributors to the BreakBeat Poets Volume 4 LatiNext anthology. For those of you who don't know what the BreakBeats anthology is about, it is in the dynamic tradition of BreakBeat Poets anthology. The volume 4 LatiNext celebrates the embodied narratives of Latinidad. Poets speak from an array of nationalities, genders, sexualities, races, and writing styles. Staking a claim to our culture and civic space. Like hip hop, we honor what was, what is, and what's next. Tonight, we have the Dominican edition of the LatiNext anthology. And among our featured poets, we have Elizabeth Acevedo, Ariel Francisco, Jasminne Mendez, Julian Randall, Dianely Antigua, Jampo Infante, Sidney Valerio, Roberto Carlos Garcia, Peggy Robles-Alvarado, Gabriel Ramirez, Ana Caona, Yesenia Montilla, and Amanda Alcantara. Guys, you could unmute yourself. That looks so hype. Yeah.
Hello,
you all for accepting my invitation. Roberto and I spoke about this a couple of times when I got the anthology, and I was like, oh my God, there's mad Dominicans in this. I was like checking, I was putting a star next to everybody's name. I was like, I know this person, I know this person. And I was like, Roberto, ¿quién me falta? Let me know if anyone else is missing. And Roberto was like, yo.
Like, let me see who's in here.
Yeah, Roberto was like, yo, we should get everybody together. And I was like, espérate. Me tomó unos cuantos meses, but I didn't forget. I had that spreadsheet out there collecting people's names and emails and whatnot. And we finally got around to it. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. This is una reunión de familia, like those the non-toxic Dominican Thanksgiving Texas get-togethers. And I gotta put that word out there because we all know what that goes like. So everyone, the Latinx anthology is available at your local bookstores, at Bookshop, on Amazon, everywhere that, you know, where books are sold. If you're in Upper Manhattan, definitely pick it up by word of. Pick it up at the Lip Bar, pick it up at Sisters Uptown. It's everywhere. And I highly recommend, not only because we have these amazing Dominican contributors, but because there are incredible poets in this anthology. So we want to start off by introducing Elizabeth Acevedo, as if you need an introduction, but let's do one anyway. Elizabeth Acevedo is a New York Times bestselling author of The Poet X, With the Fire on High, and the recent Clap When You Land. Her critically acclaimed debut novel, The Poet X, won the 2018 National Book Award for Young People's Literature. She is also the recipient of the Prince Award for Excellence in Young Adult Fiction, the Philip Carnegie Medal, and the Boston Globe Horn Book Award. Additionally, she was honored with the 2019 𝙧𝙚𝙀𝙀 Author Award for celebrating, affirming, and portraying Latinx culture and experience. Her books include Beast Girl and Other Origins, From Yes, Yes, The Poet X, HarperCollins, With the Fire on High, and from HarperCollins as well. She holds a BA in Performing Arts from the George Washington University and an MFA in Creative Writing from the University of Maryland. Acevedo has been a fellow of Cave Canem, I always mispronounce that, Canto Mundo, and participant in the Callaloo Writers Workshop. She is a national poetry slam champion and resides in Washington, D.C. with her love. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here with you all. It really is just so beautiful to look at all the tiles of your faces, and like, we gotta just kick it in real life sometime. I'm gonna read the first poem, which is from the anthology. Shout out to Willie Perdomo, with whom I worked at Cave Canem on this poem. And when the anthology was announced, I was so excited that he thought this might fit. And this is for Harlem, and specifically JP, who used to hang out with me on 143rd Street in Hamilton. This is about the train, taking the train. Ode to Dipset. The group of young boys huddled near the emergency brake of the one train, carrying on their sidekicks, Harlem's diplomats to the world. Jim, Jewels, Cam, Cocky, riding along with the train, their voices on the screeching tracks, skipping in certain sections. And the train car is packed. The men with briefcases and the viejitas on their way home cringe. But those boys, they grin. And I too quietly mouth the words. Perhaps it's on 79th Street when the old white lady stood up, innocuous, shuffling off through the open doors. But before the ding ding and the reminder to stand clear, the old white lady leans her head back in, disrupted the stifled air. This is why we made you sit on the back of the bus. And what none of us said, bitch, ain't you heard? This here is a northbound train. And what none of us said, with your dusty ass self waiting until the doors closing to say some shit. And what none of us said, oh, you're hoping for a tate quieto. And what none of us said, none of us had to say. because Dipset careened out of the phone speakers, all high horns and hi-hats and high-ass selves, brash and bass and anointment on our heads. Spectacular, yes, spectacular, yes. One word to describe me. Shout out to Dipset, shout out to that song. I loved crunk music. And one of the things, I've been working on a collection of poems for, I mean, it has to be at this point almost 7 or 8 years. And it's gone through many iterations. Perhaps maybe I won't ever finish it. It keeps growing on me. But one of its initial iterations was that the conceit, a morenita from the hood, from Harlem, is in conversation with Medusa, who she has summoned to teach her how to be a monster. And this is one of the suite of poems that came forth. Some important knowledge that might be helpful. I can't stand Greek mythology, and I think that the way that it has dominated the canon is so frustrating and annoying, and yet it has been so interesting to have to sit with the fraughtness of what we consider classic literature and what mythologies can I bring in to kind of pit against Medusa. Has been such a fun exercise. The second thing to know is that if ever there was a negrita in Greek mythology, it was Medusa, right? This was a woman who was literally a priestess in Athena's temple who was violated and raped, and because of that punished, right? And turned into the Gorgon sisters that she had. And so when we think of the violations on the body, when we think of betrayal, this was the poem that came forth. Medusa explains betrayal to La Negra. Every creature on earth must study how to be its own slit self. When first Athena cursed me, these snakes would sink fangs into my face. Their incessant hissing left me sleepless. Perseus's sword would have been a benediction. How much dying I prayed for. Wanted none to look upon me, and maybe I was the one who made it so. The droves of men turned statue, an innate magic, an alternate kind of public stoning. I never bit them back. I carried this coronet of vipers and finger fed them bits of bird, and their teeth became like lovers as they tended across my neck, the weight of their heads like a child's soft fist as they slumbered on my shoulders. It was them, their soft sounds now lullaby, a hope. These violations now stopped bleeding. So blame Athena. I metamorphized from priestess into a many-mouthed being. You do not pray to monsters, I learned then. You step into their names, you zip them to your chin. Monsters are become things, most fetching, becoming. Thank you all so much. I can't wait to listen to the other poets.
Angie, you're muted.
Quítate de mute.
Como siempre. Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Thank you for your contribution to the anthology. I hope everyone on YouTube is enjoying. Many comments. If you guys could log into your YouTube with your phone and just put the volume down so you don't hear everything, just so you can see the comments and the excitement people are expressing. Ariel, you are next. Ariel Francisco is the author of A Sinking Ship Is Still a Ship from Burrow Press 2020, and All My Heroes Are Broke, published by CNR Press in 2017. A poet and translator born in the Bronx to the Dominican and Guatemalan parents and raised in Miami, his work has been published in the New York American Poetry Review, the Academy of American Poets, the New York City Ballet, and elsewhere. He currently lives in Brooklyn.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. This is easily, I think, the greatest reading I'll ever be a part of. So this is so fantastic. I'm just going to read 2 poems. The first one is from the anthology. It's a very tiny, it's a small 4-line poem, but it's an ode to my hometown, and wrote it a few years ago when I saw something in the news and I got really upset. So this is in response to people trying to rename the South Bronx the Piano District. Of course, they only see the white keys, not the dark veins that feed the heart and sing. And the second poem I'll read is about my dad, who's the Dominican side of my family. I've been writing a lot about that recently. And this is called My Dad Applies for Citizenship and is Accused of Being a Communist, 1997. 20 years after arrival, the burden of betraying his homeland finally gone, or at least dulled down to a manageable pain tucked deep. But the government has questions. Why is he a member of Casa de las Americas, New York, supporters of the Cuban Revolution? Why does he get newspapers from Cuba and the Sandinistas in Nicaragua and the US's own Socialist Party? They ask what he talks about on his radio show. If they searched his home, the framed photo of Che in the foyer hanging like a holy relic would answer all their questions. But my dad just shrugs and says he's a writer and a journalist and likes to read, shows them his framed associate's degree from Hostas Community College, smudging the glass when he points at the word journalism, hoping he's masked his patronizing tone as pride. He says, I've received such a great education in this country. He says, I've learned so much about the US you wouldn't believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. I think so many of us can relate to that piece that you wrote about your father. And the piano district, of course, we were all, how do you say it? Todito estaban oquillados por eso. Thank you once again. Jasmine, you're up next. Jasmine Mendes is a poet, educator, and an award-winning author. Mendes has had poetry essays published by or forthcoming in the New England Review, Crab Creek Review, Canyon Review, Gulf Coast, The Rumpus, and others. She is the author of 2 poetry prose collections, Island of Dreams from Floricanto Press 2013, which won an International Latino Book Award, and Night Blooming, Jasmine, Personal Essays and Poetry by Arte Público Press 2018. She is an MFA graduate of the Creative Writing Program at the Rainier Writing Workshop at the Pacific Lutheran University. You can find more info about her and her work at Jasminne Mendez. And I also want to add, Jasmine, because I saw that incredible play that you wrote on the Parsley Massacre called City of Altars. Am I correct?
City Without Altar.
City Without Altars, and it was amazing. It was, I'm actually at a loss for words for how good that was. And I wish more people had access, and I hope that maybe they make it public later on, or you put it up once again so that more people would have access to watch it, because I think it's very important for us to know our history. And that play truly depicted, you know, what that must have been like in 1937. So thank you for writing that play. I'm gonna leave it up to you now.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Gracias. Thank you for having me, Angie. And this is, yeah, it's a blessing and so awesome to be in the company of so many wonderful people that I admire and adore. So I'm going to read one piece from the book. I have 2 in there, Learning to Dance and Fiesta de los Palos. I'm going to read Learning to Dance, and then I'll quickly hop over and do something outside of the book. Learning to Dance, The Rebellion, after Joe Arroyo's song, La Rebelión. Quiero contarle un pedacito de la historia negra, de la historia nuestra, y dice así. En los años 1600, pum, 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 cuando el tirano mandó las calles de Cartagena, esta historia vivió, pum, pum, pum. Los años, the years, carried my bones, spun my hand, held my hair, and my aching hips flew between us and the song, lifted my skirt a flame tree, fluttering against my cheek and your lips, my legs a rebellion, una rebelión, pum, pum, pum. You lead the march across this wooden floor, a tyranny of steps, syncopated rhythm chained to a matrimony of joy. We find the freedom this song is not about. Esclavitud perpetua, pum, pum, pum. I remember a memory my bisabuela may have had. Pink sunrise behind a portrait of palmas, sucking sugar cane, sangre de Cristo in my hair, las amapolas gathered red in the folds of my dress. I'd sing, esclava de un español, él me daba muy maltrato, bum, 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 across my face. Black welts, purple, bruised beatings swell in my muscles, kissing dirt, lips burst open like poppies. La tierra tastes bitter, passion fruit falling and rotting on knees. I remember a trumpet tantrum pleading, Salome, Salome. Bum, 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 water the ache, and an ocean breaks my tears while we dance. Our skin slips sweat and surrenders, luminous. Our bodies bend beyond breaking. My foot follows yours, free from slavery to salsa, from captive to canto, from silence to song. We rebel. Hoy se escucha en la verga. Bum, bum, bum. We rebel. No le pegue a mi negra. Yay, thank you. And then the second shortest piece that I'll read. I'm not from New York. I have family there, but I've never lived there. My Dominican experience is a little bit different, and so this piece speaks to that. An abecedarian lesson for my bilingual students in Houston. At the beginning of each school year, as a bilingual creative writing teacher in Texas, I have to stand in front of a classroom lined with Spanish-speaking students and defend my Dominican Spanish because their eager Spanish-speaking tongues from other Spanish-speaking countries forget that not all Spanish-speaking gente living in el norte or America or Texas or Houston are from Mexico or Guatemala or El Salvador. I try to inspire them with visions of hammocks hanging between palmas and jacaranda trees blooming all year long. We practice words like guagua and quisqueya. I tell them my avocado island is ripe with chinola and cacao, and in the streets, language bounces buoyant from our tongues to the trumpets in our merengue. There is no slow talk, slow down, or slow Spanish. Somos negritos come coco, and there is always somewhere else to be, even in our mouths. Often, I explain, my tongue will roll out of breath a pilon, pressing plátanos for mofongo before the meat gets tough. Quizás you won't understand me, I say. But Quisqueya is bold, red, a mocking hibiscus flower growing abundant, blue mouth waves surrendering molasses for Yemaya, where the sun opens una flor de mantequilla as taínos and tambores mark the beginning and end of time. It is un chin de habichuelas con dulce, un poquito de arroz con leche, and a vámonos pa la playa, primo wave after a que lo que, tigre smile. Every year, when I begin to speak my Spanish to little boys and girls named Joaquin, Guadalupe, and Xochitl, they stop, turn their ears towards the distant country of my Spanish and ask, "Y maestra, ¿por qué hablas así?" And I always begin the lesson by saying, because my zafacón de basura boca is filled with words I can't throw away, even if nobody else wants them. Thank you.
That first piece me emocionó. It took me somewhere. Thank you for that, Jasmine. Julian Randall is a living queer Black poet from Chicago. He is the author of Refuse, published by Pitt 2018, and the middle grade novel Pilar Ramirez and the Prison of Safa, coming to you all in 2022.
Thanks, y'all. Angie, thank you so much for bringing us all together. This makes me so happy. Yeah, I'm gonna read one from the anthology and one from a new thing. Cool, all right, bet. On the night I consider coming out to my parents, I am afraid of something I am but have never named. My tongue is a refuge for secrets. How does one still fear banishment if they were born in exile? There's blood on the ground. No time remains, so I'll lay it flat. I am Black and Dominican and bisexual. There, if I die now, you'll have a hint for which God to petition. Sometimes I look at a man and my hands are already digging into the small country of his back. In this way, the body is a distraction from what can make the body just a memory. My lips could bring a man's blood to the surface. My mother raised a curse and gave it her face. I am afraid to belong to another thing, to become still more no man's land. I am a trench. Nobody comes to clear the dead. Somewhere, my mother is gripping a rosary to pray for men who look like me. Somewhere, my mother is praying for me. I do not want to give her something else to worry about. I am quiet. I bury no one. Blood is drying beneath my nails. I do not know which me it belongs to. And for my second poem, I don't get a chance to read with the Dominican diaspora as often as like we should because we be fired. So I'm just gonna relish not having to explain what this poem is about. The cane field testifies regarding the assassination of the Mirabal sisters. Pues, es posible que I have learned to fear la lluvia. All of my saddest stories have the same beginning, ¿entiendes? One thing falls into another, I am fallen into all the time. Men enter me like rain, swing the moon in their hands until I'm mud. I suck their boots, beg them, tranquilase, tranquilase. It was an accident, mostly, to have lived this long. I regret the entry, but what choice did I have? Men shove their weapons inside me, only I ever think to call them bastard. All I have ever said has been blamed on the wind. Como una mariposa, I am beautiful because I am surrounded. Guapísima, I am cherished most by the blade. Yo soy la prima de la tormenta, what rages against me used to keep me alive, ¿entiendes? Es posible que every storm begets women. I am only what memories were buried in me, so I can't say what's buried elsewhere. When a país is only as good as the saddest acres of its deception, nobody can tell you this better than la tierra itself. That night, it rained. They dragged them off the road. El poder de la tormenta es en el oscuro y los manos. I howled for a country. I'm mostly made of ghost stories and rumors. The men entered me. What choice did I have but to suck their boots? And for this crime, they have only ever called me citizen. I tremble when the rain comes. De verdad, when the soldiers came back, I mistook the headlights of the truck for lightning, the thunder for acres of batons. Thanks, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Julian. Thank you so much for that. Up next is Dianely Alicia Antigua. Dianely Antigua is a Dominican-American poet and an educator born and raised in Massachusetts. Her debut collection, Ugly Music, Yes, Yes Books 2019 was the winner of the Pamet River Prize and a 2020 Whiting Award. A graduate of the MFA program at NYU, she is the recipient of the fellowship from Canto Mundo Community of Writers and the Fine Arts Work Center Summer Program. Her poems can be found in Washington Square Review, Bennington Review, The Android Journal, and elsewhere. Her heart is in Brooklyn.
Thank you so much, Angie. Thank you so much, all of you readers, and thank you all of you listeners for joining in tonight. Like, I'm here in my chancletas and my pañuelo, and drinking my vino, and I just feel so much joy and happiness in this moment and warmth. So I'm going to read one of the poems that are in the anthology, and then I'll read something that's in Ugly Music. In the country where my parents met in a taxi cab. I was almost named after the woman who put out a cigarette with her red high heel. It's the carnival scene. John Travolta on his knees, worshiping her black spandex pants and red belted waist. It was the first movie my mother watched in America. She didn't speak English. I didn't eat the beans from the school cafeteria. They were never served with rice, just a hot dog. But I learned that an A in spelling equaled coupons for free cheesy breadsticks at Domino's. And I learned that hair wasn't supposed to smell like fried pork chops when the white kids formed a line to whiff my braids. When my cousin and I played American, she'd grunt and move her tongue and make weird sounds. I'd pretend not to know English. Then we'd buy too many things with Monopoly money and stuff them into plastic bags. I remember when Grease came on TV, my mother would hum the songs. You're the one that I want. Ooh, 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 honey. My lips to the screen, I'd breathe a name into the fog, the smoke crushed under a foot. Okay. There's that one. And it's actually a true story. I was almost named Sandra. So my mom wanted to nickname me Sandy after Sandy and Grace. And I feel like that is not fitting at all. And I'm so happy that my name is Yaneli. So my mom's listening right now. So thank you, Mom, for my name. I love it. And I'm reading one poem from Ugly Music. It's called Alabanza. And it's after my grandmother, Mama. I think we've all had Dominican abuelas that have changed our lives in some way or another, that have raised us, that have loved us in a special way. So this poem's for her. She's in heaven right now. She's been there for 8 years, and I still think about her every day. So this is for her. Alabanza. Praise the beans, the white, the red, the pink, or lentils over rice, guandules, the pigeon peas of my youth. Praise the Kool-Aid, the red lips I kissed her with, my grandmother, Mama, we called her, like the Eve for us all, mother of a tiny nation in the projects. Praise her hands flooded in the spirit of other things. Dishwater, bath water, kiddie pool water, rainwater, her grip on the shopping cart on the walk home, or when she returned it after, unloading the groceries, hand that stole from no one. Veins like blue and green vines reaching the flower of her name. Rosa, Rosa, praise. The secret things touched. The 3 belly button stitch of C-section scars, babies lost on an island I'd never seen. Then the powder she poured and clapped onto her breasts, lifted them, the air like falling sugar, I'd stick out my tongue to taste. Then praise the death song. Nursing home bed propped, her body the center of the last altar. And my own mother positioning her stiff hands over a Bible, picture of a sacred sleep. Praise the cloth she then tied around my grandmother's head to keep her jaw in place. Praise the porcelain dolls left sleeping in the bottom left drawer of her dresser. The one with the red curls, my favorite. Praise their waiting, for her hand to brush their hair, for her to sing, alabaré, alabaré, alabaré a mi Señor. Thank you so much.
That took me back to those church days that my mom used to force me into. Thank you, Yaneli. Thank you so much. Everyone, I hope everyone is taking note of the books that these poets have published. Please go purchase them. I'll also include a list in this YouTube video so that you could go out and continue supporting Dominican writers. Up next is Jampo Infante Jp. Is a teacher and writer in New York City. He is the winner of the 2020 30 West Chapbook Contest and the pen-𝙏𝙚𝙀 Short Story Prize. He is an alum of the Borough of Manhattan Community College. His debut chapbook, On the Tip of Your Mother's Tongue, 30 West Publishing, is scheduled to be released in the fall of 2020. Well, was released. You need to update your bio.
I like to keep them guessing. Thank you, Angie. Y'all could hear me?
Barely.
Barely? All right, y ahora. Ya.
Acércate más.
Ya. Is that I look crazy when my shit is in the, anyways. I'm gonna share 2 poems with y'all, and we're gonna start out in Harlem. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Harlem as an adolescent. And Elizabeth was out there too. There's a lot of dope people coming out of Harlem, a lot of dope organization, the Brotherhood Sister Soul. So if y'all have money, give money to the Brotherhood Sister Soul, the Brotherhood Sister Soul in Harlem. It's a beautiful space. So this first one is titled Music as Harlem, and it's in the anthology. And it goes like this. Inner city blues on sale for white suburban youth. Paul Mooney said it best. Everybody want to be black, but nobody want to be black. From backpack tribes on a quest to change demographics, to opulent pornographic violence and bulletproof vests. Now, what happens to a dream that's bought? Is it refundable if it doesn't turn out to be what you thought? Is it impeachable if hope was all you got for your vote? Does it shine around the neck, demanding your oppressor's respect? Does it hypnotize, spinning on tires, or pacify like welfare checks? Does it take you out of poverty, only you, leaving poverty behind without you? And that's Music as Harlem. And then the second poem, I'm gonna take us to Yasica, Puerto Plata, where where we came from. We would have still been in Yasica, Puerto Plata if it wasn't for my great grandmother hustling and through Haiti, después Venezuela, ended up here. Y uno aquí ahora, pasando hambre aquí en COVID, Iván trancado, but we grateful still, we grateful. This one is in Digging Press. This is online journals, really dope, diggingpress.com. And it's a relatively young literary journal, online journal, but it's dope. So submit there, and there's a lot of dope poetry and pictures, un tro de vaina ahí. And this one is called Yasica, Puerto Plata. 1, when I lived in the mountains, I thought the same color meant the same taste. Tangerines, oranges, and the sun, citrus. When I saw my great grandmother peel a tangerine with her bare hands, while men used knives for oranges, she became God. I imagined what she could do with the sun. 2, when I returned to the mountains, I was a man with disposable income and the exchange rate in my favor, native tourist. My primos became my piolos, offering me primas. They offered to fix and repaint the house my great-grandmother with the cinder blocks she flung from New York. 3, my great-grandmother's health brought our family back to the mountains. On her last night, I was in a bar, still high from the haraca scored in Cabarete. My fat cousin, doubling as chauffeur and bodyguard, picked me up on his black motoconcho with rum on his breath. I held on behind him on the motorbike, careful not to touch the 9mm on his hip. Presidente splashed inside me with every curve. A flickering headlight showed a winding dirt road up ahead. Up above, a million tiny suns lit the night sky, waiting to be peeled. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Mi familia de Puerto Plata también, so, you know, that took me back. Though not from Jessica, but from Imber. So that brought a lot of memories, took me back, way back. Thank you so much for that. Up next is Sydney Valerio. Sydney is a creative nonfiction mixed genre writer and performer. She daylights as an educator and moonlights as a creative. In 2016, she wrote and performed Matters, a one-woman show. Her poetry is in several anthologies, a 2019 Brio Award-winning poet and a 2020 Volcanista. Sydney is working on her first book and is launching a new digital, and has launched a new digital archive that collects the voices of New York City kids who are now New York City adults.
Thank you, Angie. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Yo, everyone, can y'all unmute and give me a yer?
Yer.
Thank you. Thank you, Angie, for all you do. Popped in here was my best friend, Sky, who like started La Pregunta back in the days. And Sky, this is the answer, you know, to La Pregunta.
That's right.
So I'm glad to share with you Chivo Liniero and Jasmine. I just want to give you a shout out for all the work and light and voice you put for the part of the country that my family is from. I appreciate you, sister. I really do. 30 libras de chivo, 6 Heinekens, 1.5 bottles of Brugal Añejo, 5 puños de oregano, and 3 hours later, Tia has tenderized the meat. As a liñera, she knows the exact amount of alcohol to add, knowing too well what liquor does to the body. Between the time it takes the stew to be ready to be consumed, her eyes will monitor the flaming intensity created by multiple sources of heat. You see, mujeres linieras like my tia make chivo for special occasions. Over there, the chivos are pre-seasoned live, sold on the pista hacia Castañuelas at the crossroads of towns leading to Haití. In that hot Sahara-like part of the country, goats are raised eating oregano while they are witnessing the movement, chase, displacement, chase, relocation, chase, trafficking, capturing, and slaughtering of the human world. Here, I see Thea take the bottle of dark rum aged in oak barrels deriving from molasses that are distilled from caña cuts down by dark Dominican hands. Some insist on calling Haitianos being born in, living in, and working in Dominican batalles. Tia removes la mallita, and I want this netted cord to be the hamaca en que me tomo una siesta. Instead, la mallita insists on being the net trapping my family's bottled up Dominican American dreams. I hear the clunk, 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 clunk of the caramel colored rum as it seeps into the meat, able to resolver the taste of chivo as it's masticated, rubs onto our tongues, and dances between our cheeks. Tía, explíqueme. Se dice que el que toma Brugal o resuelve o pelea. But what is said about those of us who eat it? Is it responsible for this loving punch of my tone, this chivo made mostly for gatherings of rebirth, baby showers, birthdays, or Año Nuevo, welcoming a new chapter of our family, not having to endure the tutelage of El Jefe, El Chivo Supremo. With every chivo cooked, our family's history is recalled like the number of fincas y parcelas owned, worked, and that had to be sold. 30 libras de chivo, 6 Heinekens, 1.5 bottles of Brugal Añejo, 5 puños de oregano, and 30 years later, in my family, there is still so much movement, chase, displacement, chase, relocation, and I don't want to go. Tia, in the Bronx, I want to stay. So that first piece is from the anthology, Chivo Liniero. And this second piece, Peggy, Te Adoro. I just finished up a beautiful workshop called More Than Just with Peggy, coming up soon. And this is a sneak peek to that piece that came from that beautiful community-based workshop that Peggy led. And you already know that magic making is not for pendejas, right, Peggy? So, for some people who don't know, in my right hand, this poem is dedicated to my finger. The title of this abecedarian poem is, My Father's Affection Has Always Felt Like a Brute's, and I carry his love in my hand. A finger is in constant direct communication with the brain. As many as 100 per 1 cubic centimeter touch receptors send messages, and the distal phalanx
intermediate phalanx, and proximal phalanx bones exists under skin. And my right hand's pointer finger's nail bed is framed but unmattressed and dreamt up my great disdain for aesthetics. When I was young, healing meant tending to a torn and decimated matrix. In science, I learned the average nail grows at a rate of just 0.1 millimeters per day, and at the base of your nail is a half moon. And some days I wonder how many people have kept their distance upon seeing my hand. And what is the last place my body, its nail bed, has redistributed its stunted growth? The most common cause of deformity is trauma. And from very young, I knew to never call this pain, but to call it story. I learned what it meant to carry trauma on my finger's tip. And this meant I learned how to perfect an act of looking whole, though parts of me would be eternally missing. Question: what happens when you don't carry the moon on your finger anymore, but feel its muted rotation under your skin? Recently, I read the origin of the word point comes from the French pointière, which means to stab, prick, jab, mark. And it later evolved to also mean to stitch, to mend. And these days, all I want to do is be put together. And my body is a constant reminder of a lifetime process of undergoing the loss of a part of me, and still have that energy to point forward and to vex destiny with every manicured session I sit in, and I get my hands pampered. When I was 2, I loved playing with soil. And one day that led to an infection, and while in the days, my father's hand squeezed out all of the pus from my healing finger. X-rays later showed no bones were broken, but that the finger's matrix had been lost forever, and the nail would never grow back, but left an open space for me to feel a constant bareness. You're probably wondering if I've forgiven him. And I never really placed blame, because it taught my body to carry words instead of shame, taught my body to heal itself from a very young age, showed me how people react to a body shaped by a 1980s New York City craze, made me informed rather than deformed, equipped my tongue with words about reaching Zen con una nota diferente que la que se daba a mi papá.
Yes, thank you, Sydney. Oh my God, how I wish this event would have been in person. But hoping when, Sydney, cuando esta pandemia termine, we're gonna need un chivo. Just,
okay, padrino mío.
Escogemos una casa, whose apartment, whose house is gonna be at.
High Bridge, that's where we're going, the 10th floor. We're gonna have the view of the city.
It's gonna be up. All right, thank you so much, Sydney. Up next is Roberto Carlos Garcia. Roberto is a poet, storyteller, and essayist. My accent, I'm sorry.
Ya con eso está bien. Ya todo el mundo sabe quién yo soy, don't worry. I'm internet famous.
A self-described sancocho. Visions from the Harlem Renaissance, the Spanish poets of 1929 and the Black arts movement, the Nuyorican school, and the modernists. Garcia is author of the poetry book Black Maybe and Afro Lyric, which is available through Willow Books. Roberto's first collection, Melancolia, is available from Cervania Barba Press. His poems and poetry have appeared in the Latinx. And Wow, you have a long.
Eso ya, deja esa vaina. That's enough. It's
You
too
have
much. I'm about to just take that shit off everything.
Everybody needs to know your compliment.
Yo, the most important thing you need to know is that I got a book coming out in December.
Yes,
And I need
yes,
everybody to
that's
buy
the
it.
only thing that's not here that I wanted to shout out. The title of the book that's coming out in December. What is it?
Elegies.
Elegies. There you go, everybody. We're
Thank
gonna
you, Angie.
be promoting it on our page, and people can go purchase it. Thank you, Roberto.
I love you, Angie. Thank you so much. Big shout out to Angie for everything she does. Big shout out to everybody that you know, uplifts and supports Dominican writers and does the work behind the scenes. I know it's a lot of you. Yo, this is so dope. Like, we need this, right? We need more of this. We gotta, tenemos que hacer más coro, man. We gotta do this. Okay, this is called The Tempest. My father decided I would be born at sea, thirsty and surrounded by the risk of drowning. My father was a great sailor, a seaman, navigated only the darkest waters, the sweetest squalls, which is to say, he was a drunk like his father before him. And now I had to learn the rhythm of the waves, how a full moon makes water bulge, makes high and low tide. I had to learn to follow stars home to strange ports. My father decided I would be born at sea, so he left me in a dugout, the shoreline nowhere in sight. Thank God for the saints, those monoliths on land, light towers on the sea, and eagles in the sky, which is to say, thank God for mamás, tías, and abuelas. Where would the wandering sailor babies float to without them? Blessed be these lights who did their own time on the sea, who enjoyed a storm or two before the warm hearth of a slick boatsman, who pay their penance as watchers of the sailors' bastards, who drink tears and listen to boleros on Friday and Saturday nights, and yell and scream at us as if we were those lost sailors, and apologize and console us as if we were those lost sailors. I'm gonna read one more quick joint from the new book. Thank you, thank you. It's called Charge That to the Game. I wonder what happened to the baby. I mean, after the mom slipped her crack vials into the baby's diaper, I never went back. I copped a dime bag and ran to school 3, looked for my crew, the night ugly. I sat on bleachers under a streetlight. No one around. Rain cutting silence. Soaked my Philly. I couldn't roll the blunt. Damn. Scoped 5-0 circling the park. I ate the weed and walked home. By the end, I was floating. Tried sneaking in, but my sister Kiana posted at the kitchen table. Eating a dime bag of weed hits different. Kiana eyeballed me. I played it cool, served my rice, black beans and steak, and sat down to eat in the smoothest move since Silk came on the scene. So what's up? She asked. Chillin', I replied, and shoved a fork full into my mouth. A short trip since my chin dipped in the plate, and by the time I realized, Kiana laughed so hard she had tears in her eyes. I kept going with it. She laughed like a baby when a parent acts funny, so I did it again. My face in the plate as I pushed food into my mouth. She laughed like a baby. I was high as a kite, and she laughed and laughed like a baby. A baby. Thank you, everybody. Man, love. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Check out the chat.
Bet. And I'm gonna quote Ariel and say, this is the dopest reading I'm probably ever gonna be a part of too. So, man, love.
Thank you, guys. But without you, this wouldn't be dope, you know? This is dope because of you all. Up next is Peggy Robles-Alvarado. Peggy is a poet, a performer, an educator with degrees in education and an MFA in performance studies. She is a Pushcart Prize nominee, a Brio Award winner, a Canto Mundo and Desert Nights Fellow, and an International Latino Book Award winner. She was featured on the HBO Habla Women, Lincoln Center, Poets and Writers, and the Badass Women Festival. She's authored Conversations with My Skin in 2011, Homage to the Warrior Woman 2012, and through Robert Wrights Productions, created the Abuela Stories Project in 2016, and Mujeres the Magic, the Movement and the Muse in 2017. She directed sold out performances of Live Big Girl in 2017. And today you got the news that you've been nominated for a Pushcart, correct?
Yes, shout out to Gabriel Media. Yes, yes.
For that nomination, Peggy. Wow.
I'm so excited because they're all stories about my new manuscript, which is all stories about growing up in Washington Heights. And it's all about like my tias and my tios and just being in that environment when it wasn't gentrified and shit. So, Mambo and Mambo, because I know we got some dope ass readers here and I don't want to be taken over, but thank y'all. Estamos en familia. I feel like this is a big ass reunion. We need more of this. We need more of our stories in the world. And I don't say that in a generic way. I say that shit for real. We need that. We need all this energy and Dominican power out there. So thank you, Angie, for putting this together. I'm gonna read two poems. The first one is in the anthology, and the other one's in my new collection. So, Mommy told me to put water under the bed. When I was 7, hot with fever, small-pocked body searching for relief, my chapped lips keeping the beat of a body pulsing to an illness no doctor could find. When I was 15, a vessel for an unsettled storm and growing resentment, my curves becoming razor-sharp war stories told through the mouths of boys that had too many teeth. When I was 23, Abuela's inheritance of forked uterus and spiked cervix threatened to scorch my timeline as it had done to hers too many years, too soon. Water would save me, Mommy said. Water would drown out the death that wanted to so fiercely map itself onto my back. Poured herself into all the ache, replaced the unknown with ebb and flow, filled me with a love so hard it detached me from the fall. And I came to know water is synonymous with woman, with warrior, with ritual. My mouth became a well, a waterfall, and finally a weapon, so sharp, so wet, it could cut the chaos of any curse. Water would sever my soul from collapse, free my head of locks too heavy to hold, reteach my bones to speak survival, pour molasses into my seams and rise as the ocean claims me as her daughter over and over again. Tonight, I will place a cool glass of water under my bed, listen for the song of my ancestors that says, we would never let you drown. Right. Thank you, familia. So this piece, like my family is like, why are you telling these stories about us? But yo, I have some scandalous tias and stuff, and I love them. And these are the stories that I'm very grateful are getting picked up for publication that would never, like 10 years ago, it was like, don't write about that. You know, nobody's gonna publish that. Don't use Spanish, don't use Spanglish. Para mierda, I'm gonna do what I do. And my poems will always find a home. If not, Roberto's gonna have to publish me. Like I'm gonna roll up on you and be like, dale. So
Book.
Right. I'll put some weed in your mouth. You'll be all right. So so this piece is about one of my tias, one of my scandalous tias, and it's actually a freaking acrostic poem. And going down, it says, Delicioso estaba él. It's titled, How a Wet Mouth Can Drown a Man. Don Ramon, el viejevo of Audubon Avenue, bought us all Mr. Softy ice cream every Saturday afternoon. A thick gold chain hanging from his neck made Tia Belkis lick leisurely. Vanilla swirling from stiff waffle cone to glossy puckered lips, their eyes speaking in a dialect of head nods and deep breaths, the language of married man and newly arrived cibaeña, all salt water and sun-kissed, always hungry, ready to fruit and unafraid to ripen, her index finger tracing the links of his chain, brushing soft spaces at the neck that made portals open. The same way a slow trickle of water can carve its way into stone, making him believe survival without her wet mouth wouldn't last. His polished exterior dulled in her presence. Other women he easily rejected, kept his name out of gossiping mouths, un hombre de familia, eager to dismiss her as nothing more than a rain cloud, a tear, unaware that Tía Belkis was storm-born and relentless, a hurricane with an eye for papichulos who knew how to feed, toyed with Don Ramon until he tugged at the line she cast, buckled under her one afternoon, rocking him back and forth like the tide, his chain now anchored to her neck. Bochinche from viejitas perched from open windows threatened to drown him deeper. When asked, he denied ever offering her more than un helado, un saludo. And because water easily shapeshifts, crashes and flows, when asked about Don Ramon, Tía Belkis replied, me lo comí y delicioso estaba. All right, nos seguimos la fiesta. My aunt is gonna kill me.
I wasn't expecting that ending. Wow. Yo tengo que conocer esa tía.
Ese es el Dominican WAP, ¿tú no sabías? Es el Dominican WAP.
Oh my God. Make sure you read the chat, Peggy, porque está encendido. All right. Our next poet is Gabriel Ramirez. Gabriel is a queer Afro-Latinx poet, activist, and teaching artist. Gabriel is an alumni youth mentor at the Urban Word New York City and has received fellowships from the Conversation Literary Arts Festival, Palm Beach Poetry Festival, The Watering Hole, and Kalaloo. Gabriel has performed on Broadway and at the New Amsterdam Theater, United Nation, Lincoln Center, Apollo Theater, and other venues and universities around the nation. Gabriel was featured in Huffington Post, Vibe Magazine, Blavity, Upworthy, The Flama, Remezcla, and was asked to perform for TEDx conference. You can find his work in various spaces, including YouTube and in publications like The Volta, Winter Tangerine, Blue Shift, Journal, What's Good, Drunk in a Midnight Choir, Vinyl, and in Manteca, an anthology of Afro-Latino poetry by Arte Público Press 2017, and in Bettering American Poetry Anthology, Bettering Books 2017. Yo estoy esperando ese libro, Gabriel. ¿Pa' cuándo? ¿Pa' cuándo el libro? You don't know?
Not until Julian says it's good. Not until Julian says it's good.
Oh, ya yo sé a quién echarle la culpa.
Right. Holla at my agent, you heard? Like, what's good, everyone? Wow. Hella shook. I was just like, read that bio because I'm wild nervous. Like, I'm not even ready. Thank y'all so much. Wow, this has been a time. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, everyone who's read, everyone's gonna read. I love all y'all so much. Okay, I'm gonna stop stalling. So, funny story is the poem that I'm reading was a poem that I wrote because like I caught Julian at one of his readings and I was like, wow, you can make long poems fire. So like, this is my attempt at that. So yeah, love y'all. Shout out to y'all, gang, gang, gang. I learned to count salsa steps to Laffy Taffy by D4L. Summer 93. Mommy goes to have her thyroid checked and doesn't. Learns I'm on the way. Celia Cruz finds mommy in the street and kisses her stomach, says, este niño es bendecido. Pops tells me this to assure me I wasn't an accident. Pops left when I was 8 months old. Pops would tell people he raised me well. Trust when I say not to trust Pops. And as his son, trust when I say I ran from my family like Pops. Said no to whatever Abuela Ana tried putting on my plate. Mommy never put anything on my plate. She was too busy working and going out and finding the next place to be fell down a flight of steps as a baby. Mommy wasn't paying attention or was too busy. Pops found me at the bottom of the stairs. Then something about Knuckles and mommy's ability to hide the way Pops loved her. Either way, I was a baby, so I was barely there. Then I grew up and mommy and Pops were barely there, but Celia Cruz kissed mommy's stomach. Abuelo would brush his teeth and I'd be on the toilet imagining what heaven would be like. I was in the second grade and Miss Young was tall and gave me poetry and taught me how to read the hands of a clock. Miss Young was my first Black teacher and the first person who took nurturing seriously, not for the check, for the hurt child she saw me hiding in my love for Langston Hughes. In a river, I speak, I say I'm hungry and I love you. I was an easy child with nothing at ease. Hector Lavoe every Sunday and I could care less. I'm playing video games or scooping out extra cups of rice from a green drum so I can definitely have thirds, but never con con. There's preference and then there's rejection. You see where I'm going? DC, to eat my homie's mom's shrimp and grits for breakfast, ushering in 2013 with Jungle Juice and Theo Mingo on life support, dance floor wet, supporting folk I never met while they got dubbed on, swag surfed into another house party. The girls I came to the parties with became my sisters, and our sweated out clothes made us kin. We holding each other up, so bent that we was straight, and it was all I needed. We were all we needed. A week later, Abuelo dies visiting Theo Mingo the day he was taken off life support, but we don't tell him anything. For once, it's not pride that silences the family, but loss and our inability to imagine heaven. Another week passes and Theo Mingo joins Abuelo for a double wake at Ortiz Funeral Home off 190th E Broadway. Fire hazard of grief spilling out the chapel. Enough cousins I had never met to wonder how much easier it all could have been. Enough family to feel part of one. I let go of my father's abandonment to carry a name I knew better than any, Ramirez. I started hearing the music differently, something muddled but mine, something you couldn't tell me wasn't genetic, like blood, like hips, like rhythm, like activism. I started carrying myself the way I needed to be carried as a baby, with love and consistency. I take my own hands, 𝙧𝙚𝙞𝙪𝙧𝙚𝙪𝙧𝙚. I move like I didn't need a translator. I sing with my whole heart like I picked fruit the island bore, shouting Azúcar, gap tooth with a truth my family couldn't keep up with. Este niño tiene tumbao, I am them and Black at the same time. ¿Cómo es posible? ¿De dónde es tu familia? Where not even death keeps us from dancing. Ooh. Thanks y'all. And I got one more poem to my grandfather. So just give me 1 second. Okay. Abuelo, I couldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for you being dead. It was time for glitter, nail polish, and locks. Glitter in my nail polish, glitter in my locks. You wouldn't have loved me loving myself. My joy rendered inconvenience, sucked teeth, keeping me your grandson. My love for the men in our family is complicated, but still love. Still me accepting who they are, how they may not accept me. Abuelo, show them the infinite possibilities tenderness allows. How the men in our family love women. I would be loved to be loved by me, and I would be afraid to be loved by me. I'd say enough to keep, but never do enough to stay. Afraid to die alone like Pops did. Others' love for me has been what's left after forgiveness. I could have loved them better if I loved myself less. There's nothing I could hide from you, Abuelo. You are no longer of your prejudices, and while I can still hold you accountable, I'd rather be held by your body of stars, your new understanding of life without the exhaustion of matter. Abuelo, mommy says I look like you, but I want to look like a man who learned to forgive himself. Orchids blooming up my throat, No man wants to sound like who's abandoned them. What song made us ask the wrong questions? What joke made us laugh, closing doors on our true selves? Who would relive the moments that shaped them into what they couldn't love? All my glitter and tenderness makes me the only mother I won't get a chance to mourn. I carry my bright child face and tell myself, you will become me. Trust, everyone dies on time. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Gabriel. Took me back to my grandfather. Wow. JP, no one could hear you.
Ese tigre un monstruo, ese tigre, he's on some other shit right now. And this is the joint he sold me way back when I spoke. You remember this? You remember this? Yo, it's fire. Yo, y'all need to get your hands on this.
Roberto said Gabriel was catching bodies and shit. Este chat está encendido. Up next, thank you, Gabriel. Tú sabes, te amo, thank you. I wanted you to show off your drip. A lot of people in the comment section asking what you wearing. Déjame ver.
So this is just, something that I copped, very Queen Latifah-y, you know what I'm saying? It cuts right here. When I put my arms up, it raises up. You know what I mean? When it's open, it look like that. Got the shoulders sturdy, you know what I'm saying? So prepared to Millie Rock on any block, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you for blessing us.
Love y'all.
That's definitely a beautiful garment. Thank you. Up next is Ana Caona. Ana Caona is a poet born and raised and still living in New York City, Washington Heights, mother of Norana Sky and Zion, daughter of Oshun, but adopted by Yemaya. Her father's from the Dominican Republic and her mother is from St. Thomas, the US Virgin Islands. She earned an MFA in poetry at NYU's low residency program in Paris and an MPH at Columbia University. She earned her BA in social anthropology and journalism / creative writing with a minor in art from Baruch College with a BA. Shout out to CUNY. Thank you, Ana Caona.
Thank you for having me. I didn't realize I was muted. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be here. I'm nervous as well. I'll just jump right into the poem. I mean, everybody here is just so phenomenal. I'm so inspired, fighting tears over here. All right, so the first piece, I'll read two pieces, is from, I'm gonna mute this for 2 seconds because my son is screaming. I apologize, just give me 2.
Yo, the mommy moment, love it.
I apologize, I had to do it. Sorry. All right. So the first piece I'm going to read is called Survivor's Guilt of Villanelle. This is the poem that's in the BreakBeat Poets anthology. And I guess what I'll say about it really quickly is that I wrote it for the family members of the incarcerated. And there's an epigraph by a quote by Willie Perdomo, who inspired the piece. We were having a conversation and talking about survivor's guilt. And he said this one line to me that like completely defined me and really just validated everything I was trying so hard to excavate and understand within myself and give my permission to feel. He said this one line to me and it inspired this entire piece and also made me feel validated. He said, "You're a Caribbean woman. You cannot be without tribe." So I'll go ahead and read the poem. I can only whisper this to you. I've been called a survivor. It's a lie. I've died 2,920 times. It's the truth. I reanimate and sing, visiting siblings, play it cool. I bury my heart, my mouth, the tomb, gagging on life. I can only whisper this to you. I murdered through suicide, the girl of my youth. I can't bear her nostalgia. For each day they serve time, I've died 8,925 times. It's the truth. I pretend it's okay, and they pretend too. I survived nothing, can't speak aloud. I tried, I can only whisper this to you. I can't cry at goodbyes. Don't make it worse, mother's rule. I can't avoid home, pop pills, fly high, without tribe. I've died 13,140 times. It's the truth. Visit prisons gripping guilt like a bouquet of bloodroot. The missed calls, the unsent birthday cards. Holidays are so cruel. This can only be whispered to you. We are dying. No one survives this. It's the truth. That's Survivor's Guilt of Villanelle. Thank you. I'll read another piece really quickly. This is not published anywhere, but it's, I think, my favorite poem right now. So it's called Shipwreck Poem, and I'm just gonna read it. All right. Just a second. I have a little bit of a cold. Do not look for a ship in this poem. You will not find one, just the wreck. There is no mention of tumultuous sea journeys, or tempests, or Odysseus, or whales, or the stomach of whales. Just remnants, but expect to learn a lot about loss, terror, but not exile or new world. See, what the wind whispers the night before it rips sails will not be unveiled, just the wreck. Because this is a shipwreck poem, you will find the ship destroyed, pieces repurposed, bassinets made of driftwood, blood, and salvaged hope. You will be enveloped in the stench of sea moss and vomit, which carry signs of life that dissipate in the wind. Herculean rats and pigeons you will find, a people stuck, isolated, in an environment not suited for long life. You will fall asleep hungry, awaken hungry, spend the day with your stomach burning the root of your tongue. You will be chased. You will run for your life, up crumbling mountains, down filthy stairwells, live in crumbling houses, panic often, have night terrors in broad daylight. Because so much of a shipwreck poem is to do with delirium, a common symptom of being cast away. You will find sanity in suicide, merciful. You will keep the dead as friends. Religion will be caught between fable faith and rage. You will hear screaming and crying. Every so often you will find the body face down in the river and keep drinking. You will build a raft of music, broken beats mended in beautiful collages. The world will listen in devotion and ignore your cry for help. Let me tell you how little is written by born castaways. Because this is my shipwreck poem. A 1980s baby up the street of New York where I grew up, you'd find a hollow library where mother fished out books from the garbage to nourish a young poet, an avenue that harbored the source outbreak of the war on drugs, epidemic, scattered puddles of messageless green glass bottles, emptiness denote. You will find that people substitute anything for a boat. For those of us born of this wreckage, you will find our muscles sore, spasms from unremembered storms. You'll find our arms like broken oars, make escape hard. How we try, only to redesign the same disaster because the wreck is all we know. Because this is a shipwreck poem, most important of all, you'll find an ocean which swallows and hoards all that is meant for you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana Caona. Thank you. My God, tanta pasión. Thank you so much. Up next is Yesenia Montilla. Yesenia is an Afro-Latina poet and daughter of immigrants. She received her MFA from Drew University in poetry and poetry in translation. Her first collection, The Pink Box, was published by Willow Books and was longlisted for a PEN Award. She lives in Harlem, New York City.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool. Before I read, I just want to thank Angie and everyone that works at Dominican Writers for all the work that you guys do. The way you love us and the way that you love the work that we do and how you always make space for everybody is just something to model. So thank you to you. I'm gonna read, I think I'm just gonna read both poems from the anthology. This is Making Love to Captain America, and it has an epigraph. Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect little teeth, Tony Stark. Could any human be more perfect? He's all the pretty whiteness I was taught to want to be or to have or to seduce maybe. With my Taino African, Time African roots, my dusting of Europa found in the decoding of my DNA, somewhere near the kink of my hair and the size of my breasts. I am not sure how I love him more, with his uniform off or on, with the shield in front of him to ward off the enemy, or with his shield behind his back, his arms left open for an embrace. He's always right, even when he's wrong, even when he doesn't know the difference between the mouth open for exit or for entry. I want to make love to him, be wrapped up in all the stars and stripes of his conviction. I want to point out to him that the enemy is not always out there. Sometimes your enemy is your neighbor. Sometimes your enemy is some kid from Queens with daddy issues. Sometimes your enemy runs for president on your soil and calls you a thief, a rapist, a criminal, a choke in America's throat. Sometimes the enemy is forgetting that Cap and I can never see eye to eye because he's been on ice for so long that he doesn't know that America has become a dirty word that I only still use out of habit, that the habit is a secret thing I don't mention, like my deep desire for white boys and my constant need to break my body against them. Evolution has been unkind, Cap. Did you learn anything while you were cold? Say yes, and maybe there's hope for us all. Maybe we should all be put on ice too. Or maybe we should just let you loose. Will you destroy my enemies as easily as you do your own? I don't want to know. The fantasy of you is so sweet. Let me stay sleeping. Let me stay dreaming. And when I wake, let me roll over and see your face, pretty white boy with pretty teeth. If I punch you, I'm the only one that bleeds. Thanks, y'all. And this is Muse Found in a Colonized Body, although I think the title is gonna change in the next book. I'm not sure what it is yet. Outside the bodega, it is spring, a 60-degree evening, and the men are playing dominoes. Their granddaughters with pigtails and pink bomber jackets and matching leggings are hopscotching. I take a turn before going inside. On the line, I hold on to a bag of perejil, una yautía, dos yuca, y un cartón de huevo. Tonight, dinner is a Taino feast, and this is where my mind has wandered when the white woman slides in front of me. She slams her Diet Coke, bag of butter lettuce, box of rice aroni, and a can of tuna on the counter. El bodeguero looks in my direction. He knows I carry inside of me the kind of ancestors that would cut a bitch, but I say nothing. The air that comes through the door is so soft, like a lover's sweet hands, and I'm feeling generous. You should carry organic eggs. Then I don't have to go to the supermarket so out of my way. The bodeguero asks, are you going to buy all my organic foods? if I order them? She responds, yes, me and all my friends. I stop paying attention. Behind the glass counter are 3 Dominican newspapers on display. One of the captions stops me. Exclusivo. ¿Quién era Cristóbal Colón? In an instant, I'm giggling uncontrollably. I have no idea who he was, but I know at the very least he was the kind of human that landed in a place some call paradise, and instead of enjoying the view, he asked for organic eggs and cut the line. Thank you, everyone. It's been an honor to read with you guys tonight.
Yesenia, so much. Yo quiero saber sobre su arete, Yesenia. Por favor.
Me lo compré en Cuba. This is like my big gift that I got when I was in Cuba con Peggy.
Tenía que ser tan lejos.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
That's where I taught her how to smoke cigars in Cuba.
Tú, corrompiendo la gente, tú, Peggy.
Sweet corruption, sweet corruption.
All right. Up next is last but not least, Amanda Alcantara. Amanda is a writer and journalist. She is the author of Chula, published in 2019. Her work has been featured on the anthology Latinas, Struggles and Protests in the 21st Century, USA, the poetry anthology LatiNext, and several media publications like NPR's Latino USA, Remezcla, the San Francisco Chronicles, and others. Amanda has a bachelor's from Rutgers University and a master's from NYU. A map of the world turned upside down hangs on her wall.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. I was so worried. Good. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm like shaking. I'm here like smelling lavender oil. Like this is powerful. This reunion is powerful. This event is powerful. I feel like listening to everyone too, it's just like, I hope you all know just how badass all of you are. And I'm honored, like Yesenia said, and I'm grateful. Shout out to Dominican writers, shout out to Angie, shout out to Word Up. Chula was the second most sold book at Word Up last year, which to me is like, what is a New York Times bestseller when your community is buying your book, you know? So I'm very, very grateful for both of you, for both of these organizations hosting tonight. I'm grateful to LatiNext, this beautiful anthology. And yeah, so I'm gonna start out, I'm gonna read 2 poems. The first one is the one from the anthology LatiNext. I normally don't, I tend to just go right into this poem, but I feel inclined to share tonight a little bit about what it's about. I mean, it's a poem about Blackness, and it's a poem about what it is to be a Dominican woman. But it also is written, or at least I wrote it in a very hip hop rhyme verses way, which is why I submitted it to the LatiNext anthology, because it was like in the tradition of hip hop and beats and all of that. So, all right. Nunca seré fina, pero tampoco soy sencilla. Bailando reggaetón desde niña, liberación en la marquesina. I'm a Libra, catch me en la esquina, spreading flyers, handing out ideas, dudes trying to look back at it like I'm Trina, lip gloss popping, call me 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙪𝙧𝙚. La revolución va a estar encendida, fuego en la cintura y fuego a la oligarquía. Soy puta pero picky, call me fresita, sepo más rico que postre su marida, lo pongo en cuclilla, comer de gratis, así le lleno la barriga. Now you can call me Mother Teresa. But for real though, let me reintroduce myself. Yo soy Amanda Alcántara con acento en la A, la palabrista, la que se hacía llamar barco latina, la que confunden de niña teniendo de reina la pinta, la que se inventa frase porque vive entre 2 lenguas y 5 vidas. Hija, hermana, puta, santa y amiga. Y bésame la mano que también soy tu madrina. La que se ve buena aunque no corre ni una milla. That bitch you hate because you assume she's problematic, but she's still about freedom. Más que Frida, yo soy de las artes de autocrítica. Tú te crees woke, pero tú sigues a las masas. Yo sigo la vida. I'm the spirit to your sprite, the electricity para tus pilas, the one that hits you a escondidas y cuando se va se siente. Emotional diva, unconventional elitista, underestimated leader, Watching me walk away es un privilegio para tus ojos y un deseo para tu boquita. Me prefieren muerta porque mi boca es muy grande para sus ideas vendidas, pero esta rosa no se marchita. Call me Margarita. Y te lo repito por si se te olvida. Nunca seré fina, pero tampoco soy sencilla. All right, so this next poem is pretty short. And I feel inclined to read it because I'm in the Dominican Republic right now, so I'm here for a couple of months, which is like a beautiful homecoming, but a very heavy one too. And being here, I'm just reminded that we need to fight for our land, yo. We need to fight for our land. These people are stealing our land, and we need to fight. We need to fight. I feel like as a diaspora, we have a responsibility for the lucha in the United States and la lucha here too, because we have leverage being from the United States, you know, so we have to be in solidarity with the people here. Yeah, so this is the poem. Mommy told me rooms are sacred and to not let anybody in. So I stay out of cemeteries because that's where the dead sleep and I'm trying to live. I don't mess with dark energies, my life is lit. My skin is golden, my land is rich. Se hacen rico vendiendo el país y a nosotros no nos dejan ni un chin. But our spirit still persists. We got joy in our hips and a smile on our lips. Vestido de verde, we resist. We keep our pride, hold on tight. Abundant, never dry. In the desert, we survive with the water that's inside. Gushing, I can make you feel alive. Let me show you what it's like. I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. I don't lie. Our people never die. We were the first to inhabit the earth. You wish you were this fine. Roses in the concrete, we deserve better, so we fight. Make us think we're poor, but Mother Nature knows the truth. Diablo, mami, todo eso es tuyo. See, the whole world is mine. Thank you.
Amanda, thank you. Tú sabes que te adoro. I'm going to ask everyone to unmute yourselves, please. And I want to ask you all to join me in singing a happy birthday to Amanda because her birthday just passed. Por favor, join me, everyone on the YouTube live. Por favor, join me in singing Amanda happy birthday and happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amanda. Happy birthday to you.
Hey, 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 hey.
Wait. All right, I'm back. Thank you.
Estás poniendo más buena.
Oh, I like that. Yes.
I want to thank you all once again for being here with us tonight. To see you all, like I'm getting text messages from people. I see the comments in the YouTube. This was, it should have been done a long time ago, but this anthology has brought all of you together tonight, and I'm so grateful to know you all and to even meet the new faces tonight as well. Man, I'm grateful for you all. I'm grateful for you all. Thank you so much. We want to open it.
Sydney, Rosarios, right? Rosarios.
Rosario, yeah.
No, el cigarro Rosario, loca. Dominican cigars.
Vamos a bailar con Amanda. Baila, Amanda, baila. If this event would have been live, we would have all been dancing con un DJ encendido.
Estamos bailando aquí, espérate.
I want to open up the space for those who are watching us on YouTube to ask any questions that you may have. We're gonna let you ask these beautiful poets any questions. Let us know. I know everyone is celebrating, saying happy birthday to Amanda in the YouTube comments. Some beautiful comments in there. Many people getting to know some of you for the first time, getting to know your work, really appreciative. They want a list of the books you've written, which I'll provide. But yes, for everyone in the YouTube, please let us know if you have any questions. Comments, love the energy. This was so dope. Thank you. Such a beautiful lineup of poets. Looking forward to a reading of all your works, a continuous reading. Raise your hands if you missed our events at Word Up. I definitely miss our events at Word Up. We were there very frequently. I think that's where I met Jasmine when we had a reading with Roberto. I also met Roberto there. We had a reading with Yesenia. It was Dominican night, ¿verdad? Any questions, folks? Any questions? O parece que la gente ya está complacida. They don't need to know anything else. This video is going to be available on our YouTube channel for future reference for anyone that missed it. JP se parece a Henry Santo. In the YouTube, those are the comments.
Olla, Henry Santo en olla.
Henry Santo en olla.
He's the controversial one too, so.
He's my favorite Aventura person, singer. So
there's one question that came in. I don't know if
yes, there was a question. What writer has inspired you all? Who wants to answer that first?
I'm gonna say Rita Indiana and Josefina Baez.
Yes, yes. Who's next?
I'm gonna just say that to start writing and take it serious again, and to like find ways to talk about the real shit, I'm gonna say Willie Perdomo's work.
Yes, Willie Perdomo was one of the editors.
Like just listening to it constantly, I was like, I got it. I know, that's it. I got it. I know what I'm gonna do. So yeah.
Yes, Willie Perdomo and Jose Olivares, was it? Am I pronouncing his name correctly? Were the two, one of the two, there was a third editor, I believe, in the anthology, but they were the two.
Felicia Rose Chavez.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, Roberto. Any other person wants to answer that question?
For me, it's Patricia Smith and Willie Perdomo.
Thank you. Patricia's on the YouTube video.
Mio, I told her to be weary of me.
Oh,
I'm a stalker.
I'm a stalker too. I invite her to all the readings. And
I'm a low-key stalker. I told her, be careful with me.
Well, she was watching, ladies.
Me too.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yes, I love her.
Who else wants to contribute their favorite writer?
I'll echo that. Patricia Smith, and then it started long ago. Miguel Piñero was the first New York poet I encountered, and that got me on my journey. So
thank you, Jasmine.
For me, the first Dominican writer I ever encountered was Julia Alvarez. I mean, like I read all of her, YA novels, how the Garcia girls lost their accents, and then I discovered her poetry. And then like literally like throughout all of quarantine, my partner and I have just been quoting Willie Perdomo's poem, "That's My Heart," right there, like over and over again to each other. And like Willie's just like amazing. Yeah, the both of them.
I agree with you. Who else?
I have to say, for me, it's definitely June Jordan, Lucille Clifton, Julia Alvarez, of course. and Soledad Alvarez as well.
Thank you, Yesenia. Anyone else?
This dude right here, y'all might know him. His name is Gabriel Ramirez. Tigre es un duro. Cause if you remember, Andrew, you remember when we had the thing where it was with
Julian and Gabriel.
So Julian's joint refused. Julian's is also crazy. But Gabriel sent me this fucking, I don't know how many poems.
Tú tienes una reliquia, una colección de reliquias.
Since this is what it's called. Since I was told not to call another boy beautiful, I was my first. And it's a dope collection, super compact, super strong. And Gabriel, I'm trying to give you your flowers right now, man. Your shit is fire. And not to put pressure on you, pero
El libro pa' cuando.
El libro pa' cuando, Gabriel.
Pero it's Julian's fault.
Paciencia.
Anyone else wants to contribute their favorite writer? Or
Yeah. So Natalie Diaz, Eduardo Corral, Gwendolyn Brooks. I'm currently reading, what's the name of the one that, wow, I'm drawing a blank right now, but she wrote How to Teach Your Mother to Give Birth.
Worcestershire.
Yes, thank you.
yes, Worcestershire. Oh my God, I love her. Worcestershire, you might know her from, well, you might not know her, but she was on the Beyonce Lemonade album. There was a whole controversy on whether or not she was giving her credit for her work. On Peggy, ¿qué tú dices? ¿Qué es esa cara? La cara de Peggy.
You know what I see now? Shout out to Najira Waheed, who doesn't get enough attention. She's a fly as a poet. Fly.
Dope. Another question here is, who has a collection coming out soon?
El señor Roberto.
Roberto, you want to give us a little snippet of, or not a snippet, but let us know what your collection is about. We can't hear you.
There it is. Okay, yeah, I had to unmute. The bulk of the collection is like 20 elegies written to my grandmother, who raised me and passed away from Alzheimer's. And there's elegies there to other people that have passed away, friends and just, peoples. But there's also elegies to your past selves, elegies to the people who you used to be, that you're not anymore. And just, a whole lot of work, just talking shit, So now don't check it out.
Thank you. So Roberto is the author of the powerful collection of poetry, Black Maybe. If you haven't read it, please go pick it up. Elegies also comes out in December. It's currently out on pre-order, correct? And if they want to know more about pre-ordering it, they could go to Roberto's Instagram, right? Or your website.
Yeah, but Instagram. The Instagram is cool.
Roberto be like. That's
Roberto be like, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because everybody got Roberto Carlos Garcia. That shit is so common, it's bananas.
Tell them about your event in December.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to JP for the talk that we did for the Book of the Month Club thing with Dominican writers. It's on YouTube. He read the shit out of the book because he was telling me shit that I was like, wait, I wrote that? I didn't even realize.
That's what JP does.
Yeah, and I wanna give a shout out to Jasmine for connecting me with Edward on Twitter, who was like, let me see that. It started as a chapbook, and then Edward was like, yo, blow that up. Let's see what else you can do. And so that was up. So thank you for that, Jasmine, for showing that love.
So the book release event is December. Is it open to the public?
December 5th. Right. December 5th. I think I emailed, if I didn't
got an email.
Right? I think I emailed everybody here, or I put it on Facebook, and I tagged like every single person I know on Facebook. So, I know not a lot of people using Facebook these days. I'm trying to stay off the shit, but it's hard. So, yeah, I don't check it out,
Dope. So is it only
It's
No,
gonna be like it's gonna be like this.
Julian has a book coming out, even though it's 2022. Right? What is your book about, Julian?
Gabriel Ramirez and the Prison of Zafa comes out from Hope Books for Young Readers sometime in early 2022. We haven't decided on a release date yet, pero it's about Pilar is a little Black Dominicana from Chicago, like me. She's an aspiring director and she is trying to find, she's making a documentary about her cousin who disappeared during the Trujillo. And she finds out there's a professor down in Chicago who does the exact same work. She goes down there, tries to link up with dude's nowhere to be found. Office hours, what are you gonna do? And she finds a file with her cousin's exact name on it. But all that's inside is one blank sheet of paper. But when she touches it, she passes into a land of Dominican mythos and magic and finds out that El Cuco was in league with Trujillo the whole time. And he had so many of the people who disappeared during that time period, all of them are in El Cuco's prison at Blanca. And so now she has to find a way to save her cousin and get back home.
Oh my God, no, it can't come out sooner.
Nah, we gotta decide on covers and stuff.
You know what I discovered recently? That there are, I only have found one writer, one Dominican writer who's written YA with male characters, with a male protagonist.
Okay.
Fred Acevedo. I have his 2 books here, and he's publishing his third. He's publishing his third. These are his books, and he's publishing his third next year. And I have a 13-year-old, so I've been looking for YA books with male protagonists by Dominican writers, and he's the only one I found. So I urge you all, if you're writing for YA, to please consider our, male children. Even though, I have my kid reading Lillian Rivera, and, now he's in school learning about magical realism, which I was super happy about. I listened in his class, and I walk in, I'm like, are you learning about magical realism? And he's like, leave me alone. Why you always want to know what I'm reading?
It's not YA, it's not a novel or a book, but go check out Vampires versus the Bronx if you haven't already.
Yes, I watched it with my kid. Wonderful movie, yes. Yes. Those who haven't, it's on Netflix. It's on Netflix all over the world, internationally. No matter where you find yourself, go look it up. Go look it up. Let me see, another question here is, do any of you connect with spoken word artists in Dominican Republic who do this work in Spanish? Has there been a collaboration? So just to let you know that spoken word in DR is very different from spoken word in the US.
Yeah, but it exists though. Like there are artists who Dominican writers has worked with. Like 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙙𝙪𝙧𝙚 Jimenez,
yes,
who's out here, and she's an amazing poet. She's writing in Spanish. And that, I think she's part of like she's been published by the small publishing house called Zemi Books. And they're publishing really cool poets and writers, so you can go check that out.
Yeah.
Amanda, she's on Instagram, right? 𝙧𝙚𝙧𝙚 Jimenez, she's on Instagram, right? She posts her videos reading.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I've been looking into spoken word. There's a organization now that is they've been around for a while. They do this poetry slam competition in the DR called 𝙏𝙚𝙀𝙀𝙀. So if anyone wants more information about that, I will be sharing more about it in our Instagram account. But it is basically improvised poetry slam / spoken word of poets who battle it out in poetry, and they do this in DR. When they're doing it virtually now, but when they used to do it in person, they used to have like a boxing ring, kind of. That's where the word came, boxeo, like boxeo, but it's for poetry. So I'll be sharing that. ¿Qué es lo que ustedes están hablando en el chat? Que veo a Roberto riéndose y a Sydney ahí. I'm not on the chat, everybody.
That's what I said. I said, what are y'all bochinchando over there? I see these faces laughing and typing.
Eso ahí, eso ahí.
But definitely, if any of our YouTube viewers know more spoken word artists, I'm always researching them, always looking them up. We are building bridges in the DR with writers over there. So do let us know. Amanda is over there now, so she's an extension.
You know what I discovered when I spent because I spent summers in DR, and what I discovered, yo, is that in the mall, they got cafes that are doing spoken word in one
Yes,
show.
yes.
Nobody talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta go to like Agora, you gotta hit up different malls in the epicenter.
Very underground. They also do them in Cronopio Cafe. Y en la zona colonial, you'll find a few spots where they're featuring some of these poets and
teatro
and having these events. So yeah. Let's see what else. Paola commented, "Refuse is fired. I have my signed copy." There's someone asked, "What does it mean to be writing right now? How has this year shaped your work and your practice?"
So
how did COVID hit you? You know, the pandemic.
I'm sitting on a manuscript, and I actually had to pause and distance myself because it's speculative, creative nonfiction. And the pandemic, I really have to sit and work through it and be in stillness. So that's how it's affected me as a writer and the manuscript that I'm working on. Because there's a lot of things that are coming into play that I still can't write about. And I'm just like taking notes on. I'm an avid, observant writer. I love writing witness, and just going back to who inspires me, James Baldwin, because he graduated from my high school. So he was one of the first Black voices and strong POC voices that I was introduced to as early as 9th grade. And Pedro Pietri. It's just like witness and spoken word. So I'm sitting on my shit, and I'm learning how to sit on my stuff and just hold on to it and be in that stillness. So that's how the pandemic has affected me, because I just finished my MFA, and my manuscript, I thought it was ready, and then I was like, wait a second, there's more to this. Yeah.
Thank you, Sydney, for sharing. Anyone else?
I've taken to writing fiction, which I'm not a fiction writer, but it's fun, and I'm free to fail, and it's an escape from, you know, the shit that's going on. And yeah, I've been writing a lot. First, I was reading a lot, and then I was reading YA, and then I started writing YA. It's taking me back. It's making me think about high school trauma stuff, which is wild.
You're writing YA, Jasmine?
Yeah, I'm working on something. Yeah, I'm working on a thing. So
Wonderful.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Wonderful. Who else? Anyone else?
Well, I've been just translating a lot, thinking about what's going on in the country, especially all of this just absolute garbage with Trump, and thinking about revolution, reading a lot of the poets from the revolution in 1965. And because my dad's also a poet, he just has all these books and all these anthologies. So every week in the mail, he's sending me like a different anthology of Dominican poets, just so I can learn of the literature from that time period, and also try to bring it into English, because there's so little from the country that's published in translation. There's so many of us here who grow up speaking English, but don't have access to the actual literature. So I'm trying to translate now just as much Dominican poetry as I can.
Really, Ariel? That is super dope.
Yeah. Me and my dad last year, we went to, there's a poetry festival in Jarabacoa that we went to, and I got to meet Mateo Morrison, who's, I mean, just an incredible poet and anthologist. So he has all of these anthologies that he's put together, and I'm hoping to stay in touch with him and interview him and translate his work too. But yeah, the stack of stuff that I have, books on the actual revolution, on like the US's involvement, and it's a whole like historical and even anthropological kind of project. But yeah, it's really kind of become central to me during this year.
Do you only translate from English to Spanish or Spanish to English?
Spanish to English. I did English to Spanish once, and it's so much harder for me because I learned Spanish at home informally. So some of the grammar stuff I find really difficult to bring from English to Spanish. Yeah.
I might have a poet for you who's looking. She's a Dominican writer in Spain who has a poetry book, and she's looking for someone to help her translate it to English.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. Email me about that. That would be amazing. Yeah.
And I'm always like, I got to connect my people. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comment here from a YouTuber. I love my people, carajo, mad body love from Edgewater and the dirty jers. Also, I can see the heights from my window. Someone else asked, do y'all have any advice on writing nonfiction and being vulnerable in your writing? Do you hold back more than you should, or do you let everything out? Who's gonna answer that?
I'm gonna just say that protect the people you love, but when you first write it, you gotta write that shit exactly what it, you gotta write it exactly what it is. Don't be careful when you first write it. Let that tenderness come when you're revising, right? But you gotta throw all that shit out there and just write it. You know what I'm saying? And then at least that's the approach I take. ¿Cómo?
Que después tú lo editas.
Después tú, you know, tú le pones azuquita y vaina.
You don't get this own.
You know what I mean? But first you got to go there. That's just it. You know, it's about being able to do that. And then that's when you use your skills to you know, you don't want to hurt people. You never want to do that. You know. Well, I don't know. Maybe you do, but I don't know.
So for those who are just who tuned in late, this Dominican reading is by the Dominican contributors of the LatiNext anthology. It is not solely Dominican, but it is called the LatiNext, which means that all the contributors are Latino. And tonight we feature only the Dominican poets who contributed to the anthology. So we urge you all to please go out there and buy it, enjoy it. It is an amazing collection of poetry. Those that were read tonight, and for, like I said before, for the other works by these authors, I do have a list of their work, and I will be posting it on our on the YouTube video, and I also be sending it out in our newsletter. So if you want it, make sure you subscribe to the website dominicanwriters.com, and you will be sure to receive that by the end of this week. Someone left the YouTube saying they got a writing deadline. I'm sure you could all relate to that. I don't see any more questions. Let me see.
I saw a question. It was like, when's the next one? That's what I got the question.
If you follow Dominican writers, you'll see, because we have readings all the time. You know, just this morning I was like, we should host our merengue navideño event again virtually, because last year it was a open mic with the theme of Navidad. So, you know, maybe this year we could do it virtually. So we'll see, but we always host readings. We're always interviewing our writers and holding cuentacuentos on Saturdays. And if you want to know about Dominican writers, go to dominicanwriters.com, and you'll see all the information that we share. Our mission is to make sure that the world knows who these writers are. I wanted to know who our writers were when I was in undergrad. Just yesterday, someone sent me a syllabus for Dominican American literature. And in that syllabus, I found that so many of the writers that I promote are on this syllabus, and that just brought tears to my eyes. I said, wow, this is what I want. I want people to teach our work, and I want, our writers to be in our syllabus, because that's the course that I wanted to take when I was in undergrad. Not just, creative writing, but Dominican American literature. So on that syllabus, you know, was Angie Cruz and Elizabeth Acevedo and Roberto Carlos Garcia and, you know, Daisy Coco Felipe and Maria Medrano, so many writers that, you know, need to be in syllabuses. So that is like my goal. Yeah, all on syllabus. I want you all to be on syllabus y que el mundo entero lo conozca. It brings me great joy and pride. And I'm gonna end this event, let you all rest, but thank you once again, de corazón. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight, with sharing your work and your amazing craft with our audience. Como dice Elizabeth, pa'lante, sigan trabajando. I can't wait to read what else is coming out of you guys. Julian, definitely hit me up for that book release. I'll put you on the calendar because we need to do that bien grande. That I'm really looking forward to that book. And Roberto, see you in December for your release. I'll be pushing that on our social media as well to get as many people as possible to be present with you. So once again, thank you everyone. Good night. Have a good night. Thank you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Good night, everyone.
Thank you,
Angie.
Thank you, Angie.
Yesenia, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I hope she heard me. She was at congratulations on your fellowship. I meant to say that at the beginning.
Yes.
That's amazing. I'm so happy.
Yes. Get that money, baby. Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, Gabriel.